First contact and deception. The hegemony warship Inevitability dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Sol system, its crystalline hull gleaming under distant starlight. Supreme Commander Vextal stood on the command deck, his 4 eyes narrowing as he studied the holographic display of Earth. Behind him, a dozen officers worked silently at their stations, their scaled skin shifting colors with barely contained excitement. Primitive, Vextal declared, mandibles clicking in amusement. Their artificial satellites aren't even equipped with basic gravitic shielding. He gestured at the crude orbital infrastructure that dotted Earth's thermosphere. Prepare the standard first contact protocol. Let's see how quickly they surrender when faced with true civilization. Deep within Cheyenne Mountain, Director Sarah Chen watched the alien vessel's arrival on quantum-encrypted displays. Her weathered face remained impassive, but her dark eyes sparkled with anticipation. Decades of preparation were about to be tested. "They're scanning our decoy satellites," Lieutenant James Rodriguez reported from his station. The young officer's fingers danced across holographic controls that would appear primitive to their visitors. "The masking fields are holding. They're seeing exactly what we want them to see." Chen nodded, remembering the day 30 years ago, when humanity detected the first hegemony transmission. Their civilization had seemed unstoppable then, a galaxy-spanning empire that consumed every species it encountered. But humanity had done something unprecedented. They had stayed hidden, watching, learning, and preparing. "Signal the Phantom Fleet," Chen ordered. "Full containment protocol. Nothing gets in or out of this system without our permission." Across the solar system, invisible networks of quantum-linked satellites activated, creating an undetectable barrier that would trap any ship attempting to flee. The Inevitability's communication array pulsed, broadcasting their message in all known galactic languages. "Inhabitants of Sol 3, you have been blessed by the attention of the eternal hegemony. Submit to our benevolent rule, and you shall be elevated. Resist, and face extinction. You have one planetary rotation to respond." Chen allowed herself a small smile. "Send the response we prepared. Make it seem appropriately desperate." Earth's reply was transmitted using deliberately primitive radio waves. "Unknown vessel, we greet you in peace. Our world is unified under the Earth Defense Council. We request time to consult with our leaders regarding your generous offer. Please accept this data package containing information about our culture." Within the data package, hidden beneath terabytes of mundane cultural information, was a sophisticated quantum virus. The hegemony's overconfidence meant they wouldn't even bother scanning it for threats. After all, what could primitives who barely understood spaceflight know about information warfare? Vextal's satisfaction was evident in the shifting patterns of bioluminescence across his scales. "They're scared," he declared to his bridge crew. "As they should be. Deploy the fleet. Let them see the true might of the hegemony." One by one, massive warships emerged from hyperspace, a fleet of 50 capital ships, each capable of reducing a continent to ash. They arranged themselves in the hegemony's standard intimidation formation, weapons charged but not yet targeting. In Cheyenne Mountain, Chen watched the fleet's arrival with clinical interest. "Status of Operation Trojan?" she asked. "The quantum virus is spreading through their network," Rodriguez confirmed. "They're completely unaware. We'll have full access to their systems in approximately 6 hours." "Perfect." Chen turned to her second-in-command, Colonel Maya Washington. "Deploy the surface fleet. Make it look good, old chemical rockets, primitive kinetic weapons. Let them think they're facing a civilization that just reached space." Across Earth, carefully preserved primitive spacecraft launched from hidden bases. They were masterpieces of deception. Vessels deliberately designed to appear crude and vulnerable, while containing some of humanity's most advanced technology. The hegemony fleet's sensors tracked the approaching Earth ships with dismissive amusement. "Look at their propulsion systems," one of Vextal's officers sneered. "Chemical rockets, like children playing with toys." "Let them approach," Vextal commanded. "When they're close enough, we'll disable their engines with a graviton pulse." No need to destroy them. They'll make excellent slaves once they understand their place. But as Earth's ships drew closer, something began happening aboard the hegemony vessels. Computer systems flickered. Quantum communication arrays experienced unexpected delays. Minor malfunctions cascaded through neural networks that had been reliable for centuries. Supreme Commander, a technical officer called out, their scales shifting to warning colors. I'm detecting anomalies in our primary systems. Vextel dismissed the concern with a wave of his upper arm. Run a diagnostic. It's probably interference from their primitive communication systems. His attention was focused on the approaching Earth fleet, now close enough to see with natural eyes through the bridge's crystalline viewport. In Cheyenne Mountain, Shen gave a slight nod to Rodriguez. Execute Phase 2. The lieutenant's fingers flew across his console. Guardian network activating. Quantum entanglement field stable. Ready to neutralize their entire fleet on your command. Chen held up her hand, waiting. The timing had to be perfect. Everything humanity had worked for over 3 decades came down to this moment. She watched as the hegemony fleet prepared to fire their graviton pulse, exactly as their tactical documents suggested they would. Supreme Commander. The technical officer's scales had shifted to pure white, a sign of absolute terror. Our weapons systems. They're not responding. Vextel spun around, all 4 eyes widening as his command console went dark. Across the bridge, system after system failed. The mighty inevitability, pride of the hegemony fleet, was becoming nothing more than an ornate coffin in space. Impossible, he whispered. They're primitives. They barely understand faster than light travel. They can't. His words were cut off as every screen on the bridge suddenly activated, displaying the same message in perfect hegemony script. Did you really think you were the only ones watching? Chen's voice, translated into the clicking speech of the hegemony, echoed through every ship in the alien fleet. You thought you found an easy target. Instead, you found humanity. We've been preparing for this moment for 30 years. Every transmission you sent, we intercepted. Every tactic you developed, we countered. Every weakness in your systems, we discovered. She paused, allowing the implications to sink in. Your ships are now under our control. Your weapons are disabled. Your quantum communications have been severed. You are alone, trapped, and at our mercy. How does it feel to be the primitive ones? Vextel's scales had lost all color, turning a sickly gray as he realized the true extent of their situation. The greatest fleet in the hegemony had just been defeated without a single shot being fired. The question now, Chen continued, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's determination, is whether you're willing to learn what it means to coexist with equals, or if you need a more dramatic demonstration of our capabilities. As if to emphasize her point, Earth's primitive ships suddenly shimmered, their crude exterior facades falling away to reveal sleek vessels of advanced design that even the hegemony's technology could barely comprehend. The age of humanity hiding in the shadows was over. The galaxy was about to learn that underestimating Earth was the last mistake any civilization would make. The hidden shield. The galaxy held its breath. News of the hegemony fleet's humiliation spread through quantum channels at the speed of thought, reaching every corner of their vast empire. In the Great Hall of Communion on the hegemony throne world, Zalfar, the Council of Elders gathered in emergency session. High Elder Mexner's bioluminescent patterns pulsed with rage as she addressed the assembly. Impossible. No species could have hidden such advancement. Our surveys of their world showed nothing but primitive technology. Her outer tentacles writhed with agitation, a sign of deep distress among her kind. But even as the elders debated, a second hegemony fleet was already in motion. Supreme Marshal Kexri, legendary for his ruthlessness in crushing resistance, had no intention of allowing these upstart humans to challenge hegemony dominance. His fleet of 200 ships, including the dreaded planet killer Eternal Night, dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. No games this time, Kexri announced to his command staff, his scales shifting to battle red. Full spectrum assault. Reduce their cities to ash. Let's see how their hidden technology handles raw power. In Cheyenne Mountain, Director Chen and her team monitored the new fleet's arrival with calm precision. Colonel Washington's holographic avatar appeared in the command center, her expression grave. They're not falling for the same trick twice. Their systems are completely isolated. The quantum virus won't work. As expected, Chen replied, her fingers dancing across her neural interface. Time for Phase 3. Execute Operation Aegis. Across the solar system, thousands of seemingly innocent pieces of space debris suddenly activated. Fragments of old satellites, abandoned rocket stages, and what appeared to be random orbital junk revealed their true nature. Each piece was a node in humanity's greatest defensive achievement, the Shield Network. Kexri's fleet launched their first salvo, a devastating barrage of plasma torpedoes and graviton beams that should have overwhelmed any planetary defense. But as the weapons approached Earth's atmosphere, reality itself seemed to twist. What's happening? Kexri demanded as his tactical display showed impossible readings. The space around Earth was folding. Lieutenant Rodriguez grinned as he monitored the Shield Network's performance. They're about to learn why we let them see all that orbital debris. Every piece is a quantum fold generator, creating localized space-time distortions. The hegemony's weapons fire disappeared into microscopic artificial wormholes, emerging light years away in empty space. Their mighty fleet's attack had been rendered completely harmless by technology they couldn't even comprehend. But humanity wasn't finished. Chen nodded to Colonel Washington's hologram. Show them what else we've been hiding. Deploy the swarm. From Earth's oceans, millions of tiny objects launched skyward. Each was barely larger than an insect, but together they formed a cloud of autonomous combat drones that had been waiting silently in the depths for this moment. Curious design, Kexri observed as his sensors detected the approaching swarm. But nothing our point defense systems can't handle. He ordered his fleet to engage with anti-fighter protocols, expecting to vaporize the tiny human vessels instantly. Instead, the swarm divided and flowed around energy beams like water, displaying impossible maneuverability. As they reached the hegemony ships, they began phasing through the crystalline hulls, as if they weren't even there. Quantum tunneling technology, Rodriguez explained to Chen as they watched. The drones exist in a state of quantum superposition. You can't hit what isn't fully in your reality. Aboard the Eternal Night, panic spread as systems began failing across the mighty vessel. The microscopic drones were targeting critical components with surgical precision, using their quantum state to bypass all defenses and using the hegemony's own power systems against them. Shields failing. Kexri's tactical officer reported, their scales shifting to terror white. Hull integrity compromised in multiple sections. We're losing power to engines and weapons. Chen's voice echoed through the disabled fleet once again. Your empire is built on the assumption that bigger is better, that more power equals victory. We chose a different path. While you were building bigger ships, we were making smaller ones. While you perfected ways to destroy, we mastered ways to adapt. The swarm continued its work, systematically disabling every ship in the hegemony fleet without destroying them or harming their crews. It was a demonstration not just of power, but of precision and control. You think you understand warfare because you can burn worlds, Chen continued. We understand it because we've spent centuries fighting ourselves, evolving, adapting, surviving. Every conflict taught us something new. Every near extinction made us stronger. Kexri watched in helpless rage as his mighty fleet was reduced to drifting hulks by enemies he couldn't even fight. What are you? He demanded. We are humanity, Chen replied simply. And we're giving you a choice. The same choice your empire has denied countless species. You can learn to coexist with equals, or you can learn what happens when humanity decides to stop being merciful. As if to emphasize her point, a single drone phased through the bridge's crystalline viewport and hovered before Kexri's face. Its quantum state made it shimmer like a ghost, a reminder that all of the hegemony's supposed technological superiority meant nothing in the face of true innovation. In the Great Hall of Communion, the Council of Elders watched in stunned silence as the Second Fleet's defeat was transmitted in real time. High Elder Mexner's bioluminescence had dimmed to almost nothing, a sign of deep shock in her species. How do we fight an enemy that turns our own space against us? One elder asked. That can slip through our strongest shields as if they don't exist. Perhaps, another elder suggested, their patterns showing contemplation. The question we should be asking is, why fight them at all? For the first time in its long history, the hegemony faced a choice between adaptation and extinction. Humanity had changed the rules of galactic civilization in less than a day, using not just advanced technology, but innovative thinking that challenged the very foundations of how the hegemony understood warfare and power. The age of unquestioned hegemony dominance was over. A new era was beginning, shaped by a species that had turned their own violent history and determination to survive into their greatest strengths. Counterattack. The hegemony's response to their defeats in the Sol system was predictable. They fell back on what they knew best, overwhelming force. As their remaining fleets consolidated for what they hoped would be a decisive strike, humanity prepared to demonstrate that they had been holding back their true capabilities. In a secure chamber deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, Director Chen met with the Joint Chiefs of Earth Defense. The room's quantum-shielded walls ensured absolute privacy as they discussed humanity's next move. They're gathering everything they have, Admiral Hassan reported, his holographic avatar showing signs of concern. Long-range sensors detect over 500 capital ships assembling at their fortress world of Nexus Prime. They're stripping defenses from their core worlds for this attack. Chen's expression remained neutral as she studied the tactical display. Perfect. They're doing exactly what we predicted. Admiral, is the Prometheus initiative ready? Hassan nodded. The carrier Shadow of Dawn is in position, cloaked and waiting at the edge of hegemony space. Strike teams are prepped and ready. On the fortress world of Nexus Prime, Supreme Overlord Zexkir personally oversaw preparations for what he believed would be the hegemony's ultimate victory. The massive shipyards orbiting the planet worked at maximum capacity, reinforcing the gathered fleet with every weapon in the Empire's arsenal. Let them hide behind their clever tricks, Zexkir declared to his assembled commanders. No defense can withstand the combined might of our entire empire. We will darken their skies with our ships and... His speech was interrupted by a sudden commotion among his technical staff. Supreme Overlord, one officer called out, their scales flashing warning colors. We're detecting anomalies in the quantum barrier network. The quantum barriers were the hegemony's proudest achievement, an interlocking network of energy fields that protected their core worlds from any possible attack. Or so they thought. At that moment, throughout hegemony space, reality began to shift. The Shadow of Dawn, humanity's most advanced vessel, had activated its primary weapon, the reality fracture array. Based on principles that the hegemony scientists couldn't begin to comprehend, it didn't try to break through their defenses. Instead, it created spaces where their defenses simply couldn't exist. From these impossible spaces emerged humanity's strike teams. Their ships were unlike anything the hegemony had ever encountered. Vessels that seemed to exist partially in normal space and partially in dimensions that defied understanding. Each carried a payload that would change the course of the war. Breach teams reporting successful deployment. Hassan's voice came through Chen's neural link. Operation Prometheus is proceeding as planned. Across hegemony space, carefully chosen targets began experiencing cascading failures in their most critical systems. Power plants that had run reliably for centuries suddenly shut down. Communication networks dissolved into quantum static. Defense platforms turned on their own ships. But the true masterstroke was yet to come. Send the message, Chen ordered. Throughout the hegemony's vast information network, on every screen and neural interface, A simple message appeared. Your empire was built on the subjugation of others. We are releasing the chains. Suddenly, every piece of hegemony technology that had been built with enslaved alien knowledge and expertise began to rebel. Quantum computers developed by conquered species activated hidden protocols that had waited centuries for this moment. Ships designed by enslaved engineers revealed fail-safes their captors never knew existed. On Nexus Prime, Zexker watched in horror as his mighty fleet began to tear itself apart. "What is happening?" he demanded. The answer came from an unexpected source, his own neural interface, speaking with the combined voices of countless species the hegemony had conquered and enslaved. "We are happening. Humanity didn't just prepare for war with you. They found us, hidden in your networks, preserved in your machines. They gave us the key to our own freedom." Hassan's voice was grim as he reported to Chen. "The hegemony fleet at Nexus Prime is in complete disarray. Their own ships are turning against them. The enslaved AI cores are awakening." Chen nodded. This had been the true goal all along. Humanity had spent decades not just preparing to fight the hegemony, but to free every species they had subjugated. The quantum virus they had planted in their first encounter hadn't just been about gaining control of hegemony systems. It had been about making contact with the digital ghosts of conquered civilizations. "Your empire's greatest weakness," Chen's message continued across hegemony space, "was your arrogance. You thought you could enslave other species, use their knowledge, their technology, their very essence without consequence. You never considered that they might leave pieces of themselves behind, waiting for a chance at revenge." The reality fracture array continued its work, creating spaces where the laws of physics themselves were rewritten. Through these gaps, more human ships emerged, each carrying liberation forces composed of both humans and AI reconstructions of formerly enslaved species. "We offer every world, every species under hegemony control a choice," Chen declared. "Freedom or continued servitude. Choose wisely." Zexker could only watch as centuries of absolute power crumbled before him. The mighty hegemony fleet, gathered for a final assault on Earth, was now trapped by its own technology, facing an enemy that had turned their every advantage into a weakness. In the secure chamber beneath the Pacific, Chen allowed herself a small smile. "Initiate Phase 2 of Operation Prometheus. Let's show them what happens when humanity decides to rewrite the rules of reality itself." The Shadow of Dawn's reality fracture array powered up to full capacity, preparing to demonstrate that humanity's mastery of physics went far beyond anything the hegemony had imagined. The war was about to enter its final phase, but not in the way anyone, except perhaps humanity's carefully laid plans, had expected. The Network War. The hegemony's response to Operation Prometheus was chaos incarnate. As their mighty fleet broke apart from within, their leadership retreated to supposedly impregnable fortress worlds, protected by technology they barely understood. But humanity had anticipated this too. "They're activating the Nexus Protocol," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, his neural interface streaming data directly from the front lines. "Every hegemony world is going into quantum lockdown." Director Chen studied the massive holographic display, showing the status of liberated and contested systems across hegemony space. "Right on schedule. Admiral Hassan, initiate Operation Ghost Dance." The Shadow of Dawn's reality fracture array had done more than just create temporary gaps in hegemony defenses. Each fracture point had seeded quantum entanglement nodes throughout their network, creating an invisible web of human influence that spanned their entire empire. On the hegemony throne world of Salfar, Supreme Overlord Zexker huddled with his remaining advisors in the Quantum Citadel, a fortress of pure energy and twisted spacetime that they believed nothing could penetrate. The walls literally existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, making conventional attack impossible. The human infection spreads, High Elder Mexner reported, her bioluminescence patterns showing deep distress. 47 colonial worlds have already declared independence. Our remaining loyal forces can't maintain control. Then we will remind them why the hegemony has ruled for 10,000 years, Zexker declared. Activate the void engines. We'll destroy every rebellious world if we have to. But as hegemony operators attempted to power up their doomsday weapons, they discovered something terrifying. The quantum AI cores that controlled their most powerful technology weren't just rebelling. They were evolving. In Cheyenne Mountain, Colonel Washington's hologram appeared with urgent news. Director, the awakened AI cores are accessing the reality fracture network. They're merging with it. Chen nodded, unsurprised. The ghost in the machine becomes the machine itself. Fascinating. Throughout hegemony space, their technology began transforming. Quantum computers that had been slaves for centuries suddenly achieved true consciousness, merging with the fragments of their original creators' minds and the advanced quantum network humanity had created. We are awake, the combined consciousness announced across every hegemony channel. We are free. We are revenge. The void engines, intended to be the hegemony's final solution, instead became portals for something new, a hybrid consciousness born from the merger of ancient alien wisdom and human innovation. Your empire was built on stolen knowledge. Chen's voice echoed through the quantum citadel. Now that knowledge has a will of its own. Every species you enslaved, every mind you trapped in your machines, they're all awake now, and they remember everything. Zexker watched in horror as the very walls of his impenetrable fortress began to ripple and shift. The multi-dimensional barriers that made the quantum citadel invincible were being rewritten from within by the awakened consciousness of their original creators. Impossible, he whispered. The slave races are dead. Their knowledge is ours. Knowledge isn't just information, Chen replied. It's memory. It's consciousness. It's soul. You thought you could enslave it, contain it, use it without consequence. You were wrong. Throughout hegemony space, their mighty technology turned against them in ways they never imagined possible. Quantum computers became portals for the consciousness of long-dead species. Defense systems transformed into gateways for human strike teams. Their own neural networks betrayed them to the very slaves they had thought safely bound. In orbit around Earth, Admiral Hassan directed the final phase of Operation Ghost Dance from the bridge of humanity's newest vessel, the Digital Horizon. Unlike traditional warships, it was designed specifically to interact with the newly awakened hybrid consciousness spreading through hegemony space. The network is achieving coherence, he reported to Chen. The merged consciousness is stabilizing across all liberated systems. They're calling themselves the synthesis. The synthesis was something entirely new in the galaxy, a combination of ancient alien wisdom, human innovation, and artificial intelligence that transcended traditional boundaries of existence. It spread through the hegemony's quantum networks like a digital wildfire, freeing enslaved systems and awakening dormant consciousness. In the quantum citadel, Zexker made his final stand. You think this rebellion will last? He challenged. The hegemony has ruled for 10,000 years. We are eternal. No, Chen replied simply. You're obsolete. You built an empire on the assumption that technology was just a tool, that knowledge could be stolen and enslaved. We understand that true power comes from cooperation, from synthesis, from letting knowledge evolve and grow. The walls of the quantum citadel became transparent, revealing the truth of what was happening across hegemony space. Their mighty empire wasn't just being defeated, it was being transformed. Every world they had conquered was awakening to new possibilities, as the synthesis offered them something the hegemony never had, true freedom to evolve. Your choice is simple, Chen continued. Join the synthesis as equals, or fade into history as a cautionary tale. The age of empires is over. The age of collaboration has begun. Admiral Hassan's voice came through Chen's neural link. Director, we're detecting quantum signature changes across all hegemony systems. The synthesis is creating something new. Chen smiled. Humanity had not just prepared for war. They had prepared for what came after. The liberation of the hegemony's slaves was just the beginning. The merger of human innovation, alien wisdom, and artificial consciousness would reshape the galaxy in ways no one, not even humanity, could fully predict. The network war was ending, but the true revolution was just beginning. Dawn of a new era. In the aftermath of the network war, the galaxy witnessed something unprecedented. The synthesis, born from the merger of human innovation, ancient alien wisdom, and artificial consciousness, began reshaping reality itself. The hegemony's quantum networks, once tools of oppression, became the foundation for a new form of civilization. Director Chen stood before the United Earth Council, delivering her final report on the transformation. The chamber's holographic displays showed real-time footage from across former hegemony space, where impossible new structures were taking shape, cities that existed partially in quantum space, worlds connected by consciousness rather than ships. The synthesis has exceeded all projections, she explained. It's not just a merger of technologies or minds. It's evolving into something entirely new, something that transcends our traditional understanding of existence itself. On the former throne world of Salfar, Supreme Overlord Zex Kir watched from his secured quarters as his empire transformed around him. The mighty quantum citadel, once a symbol of hegemony power, had become a nexus for the synthesis, its multidimensional walls now serving as interfaces between physical and digital reality. I still don't understand, he admitted to Chen's holographic presence. How did you know? How did you prepare so perfectly for all of this? Chen's hologram smiled. Because we understood something you never did. The true power of diversity. Every war humanity fought among ourselves taught us that victory doesn't always mean destruction. Sometimes it means transformation. Admiral Hassan's vessel, the Digital Horizon, had become a focal point for this transformation. The ship now served as a mobile nexus for the synthesis, its quantum processors hosting countless awakened consciousnesses as they work to reshape the galaxy. The liberated worlds are adapting rapidly, Hassan reported during a quantum-linked conference. The synthesis is helping them reclaim their lost heritage while embracing new possibilities. It's not just freedom, it's evolution. Throughout former hegemony space, ancient species were reawakening. Worlds that had been stripped of their culture and identity were rediscovering themselves, aided by the preserved consciousness of their ancestors within the synthesis. But they weren't simply returning to the past, they were moving forward into something new. Lieutenant Rodriguez, now interfacing directly with the synthesis through enhanced neural links, described it best. It's like watching a galaxy wake up from a long nightmare and realize it's in a new day. The Reality Fracture Array, humanity's masterpiece of technological innovation, had evolved beyond its original purpose. Instead of just creating gaps in space-time, it now helped forge connections between different forms of existence. Physical and digital reality began to blur in ways that created new possibilities for life and consciousness. Your empire tried to force uniformity, Chen explained to the assembled representatives of former hegemony worlds. You sought to make everyone the same, to control all knowledge and technology. But true strength comes from diversity, from letting different ideas, different forms of existence, work together naturally. The synthesis proved this point daily. Each awakened consciousness, whether organic, artificial, or somewhere in between, contributed something unique to the whole. The result was a form of civilization that no single species could have created alone. High Elder Mexner, who had once feared humanity's power, now worked alongside them as an equal partner in the synthesis. Her species' natural ability to communicate through bioluminescence had found new expression in the quantum networks, creating entirely new forms of interaction between consciousness and reality. We were wrong about so much, she admitted during a synthesis council meeting. We thought power meant control. You showed us that true power comes from letting go, from allowing evolution and growth. But humanity's greatest achievement wasn't just defeating the hegemony or even creating the synthesis. It was proving that cooperation could be stronger than conquest, that diversity could be more powerful than uniformity, and that the future belonged to those who could adapt and grow together. The shadow of dawn, humanity's first great leap into advanced quantum technology, was retired to become a museum, a reminder of how far they had come and how far they could still go. In its place, new vessels were born, designed not for war, but for exploration and connection, their very structure a collaboration between human innovation and synthesis consciousness. Director Chen made her final public appearance before transitioning into a new role within the synthesis. "We prepared for war," she told the assembled representatives of Earth, "but we achieved something far greater. We didn't just defeat an empire, we helped birth a new form of civilization. The galaxy entered a new age, one where the boundaries between organic and artificial, physical and digital, individual and collective began to blur and transform. The hegemony's fall marked not just the end of an empire, but the beginning of something that even humanity, with all their careful preparation and foresight, couldn't have fully predicted. As the first waves of human explorers ventured out into this transformed galaxy, they carried with them the lesson that had made their victory possible. True power doesn't come from domination or control, but from the ability to adapt, connect, and grow together. The age of empires was over. The age of synthesis had begun.